February 28, 2026, 9:45 a.m., Tehran. The morning call to prayer echoes over rooftops lined with satellite dishes. On the horizon, flashes split the sky. Sirens wail. American and Israeli warplanes scream overhead, dropping bunker-buster bombs on concrete domes below. The city's daily gridlock freezes as plumes of black smoke rise from the Fordo uranium enrichment facility. On the street, a taxi driver checks his phone, swiping past news of oil prices and soccer scores. He looks up. The ground shakes. By noon, 10 Iranian warships burn in the Persian Gulf. Twisted hulls, already sinking. In Washington, President Donald Trump posts a single line. The same minute, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's motorcade snakes through Jerusalem under drone escort. In the White House Situation Room, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth tells reporters, "We're on or ahead of schedule. Rubble from Natanz and Isfahan is still hot to the touch. Uranium centrifuges vaporized in moments. The Pentagon says over 1,000 targets hit before lunch." Somewhere in the chaos, Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei is killed. American officials don't say how. 1 hour later, President Trump stands in the East Room, Medal of Honor in hand. He smiles for the cameras. We projected 4 weeks to terminate their military leadership. It was done in 1 hour. In the background, aides field urgent calls from NATO, the UN, and the very agitated Crown Prince Salman. Iran's defense minister vows on live TV to open hell gates on invaders. U.S. intelligence analysts scan satellite feeds for missile launches. Any hint of retaliation, the world holds its breath. 6 American troops are already dead. No one knows what comes next. For years, the rules were clear. Diplomacy, pressure, red lines no one dared cross. Today, the rules evaporate with the dust at Fordo. One man, backed by aircraft carriers, billion-dollar bombs, and a Twitter account with 90 million followers, turns a decades-long standoff into shock and awe. The stated goal? Destroy every missile, every warship, every nuclear facility. The timeline? Whatever it takes. The cost? Still climbing. How did a single order from Air Force One trigger the most ambitious military campaign against Iran in modern history? And why do officials say the hardest hits are yet to come? March 7th, 2025, Palm Beach, Florida. Donald Trump, 78, tanned white cufflinks gleaming, sits in the gold-lit dining room of Mar-a-Lago. The breakfast buffet is untouched. He's dictating rapid fire into a phone, toggling between Fox News clips and a draft letter addressed to Iran's supreme leader. The staff will later say he's in a better mood when he's threatening someone than when he's bored. Today, he's in a fantastic mood. Trump snaps. Get Khamenei on that list. Tell him I have a deal for him. He's not bluffing. His team, led by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, watches from the other end of the table. Notepads open, pens ready. Nobody dares to interrupt. Trump sets a 60-day deadline for Iran to come to the table. If they don't, they'll see what real pressure looks like. Oil exports? 0. Sanctions? You haven't seen anything yet. Most people, presented with a nuclear standoff and a region on the brink, would hedge their bets. Trump doubles down. The art of the deal, now measured in uranium and cruise missiles. April 12th, Vienna's shadow looms over every phone call. Iranian Foreign Minister Arajti picks up on the third ring. The Americans want talks. Trump's letter is blunt. No poetic diplomacy, no veiled threats, just Trump's signature scrawl and a warning. accept this proposal or face consequences. Khamenei reads it and laughs. Excessive and outrageous, he tells his aides, dismissing Trump as unserious. In Tehran, the mood is defiant, bordering on jubilant. Trump's threat seems like empty theater. But Trump knows something most don't. The clock is moving. Intelligence briefings show Iran's uranium stockpile growing, missile programs accelerating. He flips through satellite images, tapping the table. "They think I'm kidding," he mutters. "Let's see what they do when the money stops." May 1st, Twitter explodes with Defense Secretary Hegseth's warning. Iran will pay for backing Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. Rubio follows up at the press conference. "We're watching enrichment activity. Iran knows what's at stake." Trump calls for the complete dismantling of enrichment. In response, Iran unveils a new ballistic missile on state TV. Revolutionary Guard General Salami stands at the podium, eyes cold, voice flat. "We will open hell gates on invaders." The audience cheers. In Washington, Trump's jaw tightens. He's seen this play before. He's not impressed. May 16th, another letter, another warning. Trump's proposal lands on Khamenei's desk. End enrichment, or else. Khamenei rejects it outright. He lies about wanting peace, the supreme leader says, waving away the American offer. Trump watches the footage from a leather chair on Air Force One, en route to another rally. "They'll accept or they'll regret it," he says, voice calm, almost bored. June 10th, the chessboard shifts. Intelligence hints at Iranian missile deployments near American bases. Trump's advisors urge caution, but he only asks for options. "Bunker busters," he says, almost as an afterthought. "Remind them we have them." The Pentagon draws up plans. The world holds its breath. June 21st, 2025, midnight in Washington. Trump signs the order. B-2 bombers lift off from Diego Garcia, loaded with bunker buster bombs. In Iran, the Fordow uranium facility hums with fluorescent light, engineers sipping tea between shifts. 40 minutes later, concrete domes shudder as bombs punch through 30 feet of reinforced earth. At Natanz, alarms blare. At Isfahan, technicians scramble for shelter. Trump watches grainy live footage, eyes narrowed, lips pressed thin. That'll get their attention. It does. 3 days later, Trump declares a ceasefire. American officials insist they don't want escalation, but the world can see the message in the smoking ruins. The U.S. is back in the business of preemption. Most people would call it quits after the first round of explosions. Trump isn't most people. He's already thinking about the next move. The technical details matter less to him than the show of force. But in the Situation Room, Hegseth is already tallying missile silos, counting naval assets, drafting contingency plans for whatever it takes. A single folder remains unopened on Trump's desk, contingency plans for a joint strike with Israel. He glances at it, then looks away. Not yet. But he doesn't know it will soon become the blueprint for Operation Epic Fury. What will it take to force Iran's hand? And what happens if the enemy refuses to fold? February 27th, 2026, Air Force One, 3:38 p.m. President Trump is airborne, moving at 560 miles per hour over the Atlantic. He's not watching a movie or reading intelligence briefs. He's on the phone. "Green light," Trump says, as aides circle, pretending to check paperwork. That phrase, 2 words, launches Operation Epic Fury. Within 18 hours, over 1,000 targets in Iran appear on digital maps across Pentagon war rooms. Bunker buster bombs are loaded. orders ripple outward at the speed of encrypted signal. February 28, 2026, 9:45 a.m. local time, Tehran. The first explosions hit Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan, names that keep nuclear non-proliferation experts awake at night. Trump's stated objective is surgical: destroy Iran's nuclear and missile capabilities, annihilate their navy, and eliminate the world's #1 sponsor of terror. In the first wave, American and Israeli drones blast through reinforced concrete domes. For the bombers, it's just coordinates and payloads. For the scientists still inside, it's the end of decades of work in less than 20 minutes. Secretary of State Marco Rubio faces cameras in Washington. This is just the beginning. The next phase will be even more punishing. Reporters ask about regime change. Rubio smirks. We have objectives. We will do this as long as it takes. The world's most powerful military is now on an open-ended timeline. 4 weeks, 5, 6, the answer is whatever it takes. By March 1st early morning, reports confirm several Iranian leaders are killed. Supreme Leader Khamenei is among the dead, according to anonymous US officials. Streets in Tehran fill with anxious crowds, while state TV loops patriotic anthems over footage of destroyed airfields. Trump tells the New York Times, 1 month or less. Maybe we need boots on the ground, maybe not. The Pentagon adds a footnote. 6 American troops already lost, with more losses expected. Most people would pause, reflect, maybe reevaluate. Trump goes on Fox News and asks if they can fit more medals on the next broadcast. The campaign's body count is not just human. By March 2nd, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth stands at a Pentagon podium, listing the day's stats like a sports announcer. 10 Iranian ships at the bottom of the sea. Ballistic missile stockpiles destroyed. We're ahead of schedule. For the record, ahead of schedule means the original 4-week plan to eliminate Iran's military leadership was completed in about an hour. The irony? The world's most feared regime can't survive an American calendar invite. Iran's response is not diplomatic. Defense Minister Aziz Nasirzadeh appears on satellite TV, vowing to hit every U.S. base within reach. General Salami, head of the Revolutionary Guard, says, "We will open hell gates on invaders." The next day, Iran fires missiles at a British base in Cyprus, dragging NATO into the crisis. Saudi Crown Prince Salman closes his airspace to U.S. jets, then calls Iranian strikes cowardly. He promises force if Iran crosses one more line. Suddenly, regional stability means F-35 noise complaints in Riyadh. But what about you? You might think these are distant wars, waged by men in suits and uniforms. But early March, the FBI is investigating a mass shooting in Texas. The suspect wears pro-Iran clothing, and his car holds enough weapons to worry every parent in the state. The connection is only alleged, but the fear is real. Your life, your safety, your sense of normal, no longer untouched by events. 7,000 miles away. How long will Iran's military hold out under this barrage? And what happens if American objectives keep expanding faster than the Pentagon's press releases? Inside the White House, the goalposts keep moving. March 2nd, Trump hosts a Medal of Honor ceremony. In between standing ovations, he projects 4 to 5 weeks for the operation. Unless, of course, it takes longer. Whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes. For his team, that means daily briefings, shifting priorities, and an ever-lengthening target list. For the Joint Chiefs, it means explaining to Congress why new shipments of bunker busters are already on order. The technical details are as cold as the metal on the bomb racks. The focus? Ballistic missile launchers, manufacturing sites, and one-way drone factories. Coordinates feed into satellite-guided warheads. Each strike is a pin on a map, a photo on a classified slide deck, and a line on a State Department talking point. We're destroying Iran's missile capabilities, and you see that happening on an hourly basis, Trump boasts. The word hourly is not an exaggeration. By week's end, over 1,000 sites are struck. Iranian naval vessels, a minimum of 10 rest on the ocean floor. Somewhere, a U.S. Navy analyst updates the world's most expensive Excel sheet. Rubio tells reporters, "We were not going to sit there and absorb a blow." The rationale is preemption, a doctrine Trump has been previewing since 2025, the maximum pressure campaign. Now with airstrikes. VP J.D. Vance says, "We won't allow a multi-year conflict with no end in sight. The plan, if it deserves the word, is velocity. Hit hard, hit fast, then decide what's next after the dust settles." But most people, faced with international condemnation, would call a timeout. UN ambassadors line up to denounce destabilization. European diplomats urge restraint. Trump tweets a meme of himself as Rambo. The world watches, popcorn in hand, as timelines stretch. 4 weeks, 4 months. What's the difference when you're writing your own history? There's a near failure buried in the chaos. Anonymous U.S. intelligence sources claim Trump authorized strikes after receiving intel that Iran planned preemptive missile launches. But a Pentagon source briefs Congress behind closed doors. No such intelligence ever surfaced. The justification for war is as solid as a sandcastle at high tide. For the families of 6 dead troops, the distinction matters. For Trump, it's just another news cycle. Saudi Arabia, Israel, and NATO all feel the aftershocks. Saudi airspace closes, but the U.S. Armada still floats. Carrier groups, destroyers, and thousands of sailors burning jet fuel for democracy. Israel expands strikes to Beirut, pulling Lebanon onto the stage. Axis of resistance militias across the Arab world scatter or bunker down. Tehran's network of proxies suddenly leaderless and under fire. Meanwhile, as American bombs crater Iranian runways, domestic nerves fray, oil prices spike, then crash. The Dow Jones bounces like a toddler on a sugar high. Your retirement, your gas bill, all up for grabs. The White House press corps asks about costs. Trump waves it away. Whatever it takes, the world's reserve currency is now bravado. But can bunker buster bombs destroy not just nuclear facilities, but an entire ideology? And when generals start warning, the hardest hits are yet to come, is anyone on either side ready for what comes next? March 1st, 2026, 4:02 a.m., Isfahan, Iran. The ground shakes before the sound arrives. Air raid sirens wail, a discordant chorus with the morning call to prayer. In the darkness, flashes paint the horizon, white, then orange, then the steady strobe of anti-aircraft fire. Residents scramble for shelter, hands over children's ears as windows rattle and car alarms trigger in unison. Above them, American and Israeli jets carve silent trails across the stars. In the war rooms of the Pentagon, every screen glows with satellite feeds. Target overlays flicker. Fordo, Natanz, Isfahan. Officers watch real-time telemetry. A general mutters, "Bunker busters are on the way." On the main monitor, the Fordow enrichment site appears, half buried under a mountain, reinforced for Armageddon. The first explosion blossoms. Concrete splits. Thermal signatures flare. One analyst whispers, "That's not supposed to be possible." 4:17 a.m., the Natanz facility. Once, this was the crown jewel of Iran's nuclear ambitions. Now, the ground erupts in pillars of dust and fire. The impact registers on seismographs as far as Dubai. Emergency lights flicker inside labyrinths of centrifuges. Technicians in blue coveralls dash for the exits, faces ghost white in the sodium glare. Overhead, a second wave of missiles punctuates the silence. The air is thick with pulverized concrete and the sharp tang of burning insulation. Donald Trump, 79, sits in the East Room, tie askew, watching the feed with a practiced squint. Advisors circle behind him. Hegseth, arms crossed. Rubio, jaw clenched. Trump is unfazed by the chaos on screen. He picks up the phone. "Tell them we're ahead of schedule," he says. Hegseth nods, relaying the message. "On or ahead of schedule, Mr. President." One aide's hand trembles as he types the statement for the press. At sea, the Strait of Hormuz boils with activity. The USS Abraham Lincoln launches Tomahawk missiles in precise salvos. 10 Iranian warships already sit on the seafloor, plumes of oil trailing upward like black smoke signals. Navy crews watch radar screens, scanning for retaliation that never comes. "We're annihilating their navy," Trump declares later. 10 ships down. They're at the bottom of the sea. Not a boast. A status update. Inside Tehran's command bunkers, the mood curdles from bravado to disbelief. Iranian Defense Minister Nasirzadeh pounds the table, eyes bloodshot, voice raw. "Where is the retaliation?" he demands. Radio chatter spikes, frantic, overlapping voices. General Salami, Revolutionary Guard, spits out orders. Open hell gates on invaders. But missile launchers are already smoldering wreckage. The phones crackle with static. Someone shouts, "They're jamming us." We have nothing left. The irony? The system built to deter invasion collapses before anyone can use it. 4:32 a.m. in the Isfahan Nuclear Technology Center. Ceiling panels buckle. Emergency klaxons howl as fire suppression systems release chemical fog. Documents scatter in the artificial wind. The chief technician grabs his phone, dials a secure line. "We have lost everything," he whispers. The call disconnects. Somewhere in the chaos, a folder labeled "Non-Terrestrial Officers," the kind of thing that would haunt Pentagon analysts, disappears in the smoke. By 5:01 a.m., the first reports filter into Western media. Several Iranian leaders killed. The list is incomplete. One name stands out: Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. The state broadcaster goes off the air mid-script. On the streets, armored vehicles roll past shuttered bakeries and broken streetlights. A digital billboard flickers, then goes black. Back in Washington, Trump stands at the lectern, cameras flashing. His voice is steady. "We're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon." Beside him, Secretary Rubio addresses reporters. "The next phase will be even more punishing. We will do this as long as it takes. The world will be a safer place when we're done." The press pool scribbles feverishly, glancing at their phones for live updates. 5:47 a.m., the Pentagon's Joint Chiefs receive a flash update. Objective 1, destroy Iran's missile capabilities. Complete. Objective 2, annihilate the Navy. Ongoing, but ahead of schedule. Objective 3, prevent nuclear weapons development. Status uncertain. Chairman Jen Dan Kane reads aloud. We expect additional losses. The hardest hits are yet to come. His hand tightens around the memo. In Houston, Texas, the consequences ripple home. FBI agents swarm a crime scene. 2 dead, 14 wounded. A gunman in pro-Iran clothing, trunk full of weapons. Domestic terror linked to overseas events. One investigator mutters, "For the first time, the war feels personal. Your city, your neighborhood, your safety." 5:59 a.m. In Riyadh, Saudi Crown Prince Salman watches the strikes from a secure room, lips pressed thin. Cowardly, he calls Iran's response. He vows force if airspace is violated again, but closes Saudi skies to US and Israeli warplanes. Every alliance in the region feels strained, every promise tested. The world holds its breath. The Pentagon's conference lines light up. NATO capitals, Tel Aviv, London, Paris. Some allies condemn the strikes as reckless. Others privately cheer. The UN issues a statement calling for restraint. In congressional briefings, a Pentagon official admits no hard evidence of imminent Iranian attack. The room goes silent. Someone coughs. The war has already begun. 6:12 a.m. Iranian state radio resumes, voice trembling. The supreme leader has been martyred. The announcer says, the country's future uncertain. Above ground, the sun rises over a city changed forever. Smoke drifting, birds silent, people peering from shattered windows. Below ground, the wreckage glows, and the last hope for a homegrown bomb is buried under a mountain of American steel. No one knows what comes next, but the message is clear. The world has just crossed a line, and there's no going back. March 5th, 2026, Washington, D.C. The official line is on or ahead of schedule. The real story is chaos, broadcast in daily fragments. Warships burning in the Gulf, missile silos cratered, and Tehran's skyline lit by airstrikes instead of city lights. President Trump stands in the East Room, flanked by generals and a Medal of Honor recipient. He tells the world that Iran's military leadership has been terminated in less than an hour. But outside the White House, the world isn't buying closure. The operation is still unfolding. No courtrooms, no confessions, no press conference where a general surrenders his sidearm. For Trump, there's no legal reckoning, at least not yet. Executive authority shields every order, every missile, every midnight phone call from prosecution. The only tribunal is public opinion, split between American flags waving outside rallies and international condemnations echoing from the UN. His allies call it preemption. His critics call it overreach. The casualties? 6 American troops dead by early March. The price? Still climbing? Both in dollars and lives. For now, Trump's legacy is measured in timelines. 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it takes. Not convictions or regrets. Iran's nuclear network is bruised, not broken. The Fordow and Natanz facilities lie in ruins, according to satellite photos. But Mohammad Islami, head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, vows new reactors will rise from the rubble. The world's most watched centrifuges may run silent, but the playbook remains. Ballistic missiles, naval fleets, proxy militias. Each one a threat, each one a target. Secretary Rubio warns, the next phase will be far worse. For anyone in the crosshairs, that's not a promise, it's a countdown. You don't have to live in Tehran or Tel Aviv to feel the fallout. If you're American, the cost is in the headlines. A Texas gunman wearing pro-Iran clothing, dead after killing 2 and wounding 14. The FBI calls it a potential terror connection. Maybe you watch the airstrikes on a phone screen, thinking this is just another distant conflict, but the reality is closer. Gas prices spike. Embassy security locks down. That sense of safety at home already traded for the illusion of control abroad. Here's the irony. The operation meant to end Iran's nuclear threat may have ended something else. Predictability. Every deadline slips. Every promise of restraint gets replaced by another vow to escalate. The architects of maximum pressure find themselves living with maximum uncertainty. The world waits for a conclusion, but the script keeps rewriting itself, one bunker buster at a time. Most people would call this a win or a loss. In reality, it's just unfinished business. But what happens when the enemy isn't a nation but code? When the next war begins and ends inside a server farm, not a missile silo. If you want to see how one faceless group turned the world's most powerful intelligence agency upside down, check out our video on the Shadow Brokers, the hackers who stole the NSA's cyber weapons and auctioned them to the highest bidder. Sometimes the real nuclear option isn't a bomb at all.